You know, Meat Shields, we've seen a lot of weird movies here on the channel, but what if you took the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, only instead of Leatherface, you're dealing with a giant baby lady in a doll mask? And not only is she obsessed with dolls, but if she takes you back to her crib, it's either act like a baby or end up in a body bag. And trust me, it's about to get real disturbing up in there. But don't worry, because today we're here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the giant psycho baby in Dolly. Our story begins somewhere deep in the mountains of Tennessee. It's a beautiful day for a hike as this dude Chase and his girlfriend Macy set off towards the overlook where Chase is finally gonna pop the question. But that right there was his biggest mistake. You see, they're not the only ones who are out for a little nature walk, and somewhere nearby we see this huge woman carrying a headless body through the forest until she comes to a grave surrounded by tons of these freaky little dolls. And after rocking back and forth with the body for a minute, she just leans over and dumps it straight in the ditch. Now back with the couple, they've been hiking for a while when Macy spots a doll nailed to a tree. But it's not just one, it's dozens of them all over both sides of the trail. Confused, Chase says that they've never been there before, while Macy picks two of them up and starts making them kiss, saying that the dolls look just like them. But Chase is getting creeped out and wants to keep going, so Macy throws them back down all disrespectfully as they head out. So anyway, this is where I turn the around and go home. Anyone who's spent enough time in the woods knows that sometimes you'll find some weird stuff. But a whole Toys R Us worth of these freaky little dolls all hanging from trees on some Blair Witch? Nah, it's just where I draw the line. I mean, they're high enough up that no little kid could have done this, and any grown adult who's doing this to a bunch of baby dolls already has me a little spooked. Like, first of all, where'd they even get so many dolls? I don't see any toy stores around here, so that only leaves a few answers, and none of them are good. And also, I don't know if they're doing it as some kind of ritual, or if they're just mentally stuck as a child, but either way, not the type of person you want to run into in the middle of the woods, which brings me to an even larger problem. These two are out in the middle of nowhere, so if anything happens, they're on their own. Oh, but that's not even the worst part, because when you think about it, nobody's hiking that far with 100 pounds worth of dolls in their backpack, which can only mean one thing: whoever did this must live nearby, and if they're using these dolls as a way to mark their territory, that means we're already trespassing in their hood. Now on the bright side, my boy Stifler's surprisingly well prepared. He's got a compass, extra batteries, 2 life straws, so good for him. They even told multiple people where they were going and when they were expected to be back, so also good for them. If worse comes to worse, somebody should actually come looking for them, right? But the one thing they didn't pack was the toolie, or even some bear spray or a taser to defend themselves. All they've got is this one little pocket knife, and that's not gonna cut it if they run into a bunch of cannibals. So personally, I'm turning around and heading back to the whip right now. That way I can live to propose another day. When they finally make it to the overlook, Chase says that he wants to take a couple of photos, and Macy's like, "Aw, snap, here it comes." But somewhere out there, that freaky woman winds up this little toy clock that starts making noise. And when Broski's about to pull the ring out, they hear the music playing somewhere in the distance. Whatever it is, it's kinda ruining the moment, so instead of sticking to the script, Chase hits the brakes and says that he wants to go check it out. Macy thinks he's nuts, and he tries to get him back on track, so putting the ring back in his bag, he promises to be right back and heads off to see what's up. He hasn't gone far before he starts coming across more of these baby dolls hanging from the trees and lying all over the ground. And as he gets closer, he spots the woman standing there with her back turned. Now, in a moment of pure stupidity, this doofus actually walks right up to her, thinking she needs help. But then he grabs her shoulder, and when she turns around, all he sees is a damn baby mask staring him right in the face. Then instead of saying anything, she starts making baby noises and grabbing her head like she's about to spaz out. Broski starts backing up, trying to keep things under control, but all of a sudden, wham, this woman grabs Chase by the neck and lifts him way up in the air until she crushes his damn windpipe. Dropping him to the ground, she grabs a shovel and comes waddling back to finish the job, but instead of taking him out clean, she moves the shovel down over his leg and, after giving him a second to think about it, stomps straight down as hard as she can. Now this time, she takes the shovel and starts aiming for his head, and Chase grabs it, trying to fight back, but she's way too strong, and sticking the blade in his mouth, she jams it up and rips off his entire jaw. I know some people want a jaw-dropping proposal, but this might actually be just a little too much here. Like, I'll tell you one thing, this definitely wasn't what Chase had in mind when he left the house today. But when your big day ends with you getting absolutely schmirked by an overgrown baby lady, I'm sorry, broski, but you have f***ed up. See, I could tell this relationship wasn't gonna last the minute that they kept going after finding a bunch of freaky-ass dolls in the trees. Like I already said, I would have been long gone the minute I even glimpsed one of those demonic Cabbage Patch Kids. But imagine seeing all that, then hearing some kind of creepy conjuring-ass music coming from the bushes, and going, you know what? I better check that out. My guy, you gotta be dumb as f***. Like, if anything, this would be the chance to prove he'd be a good husband by getting Macy and himself the hell out of there. And like she literally said, it's always safer to just stay on the damn trail. I mean, that's just hiking safety 101. But at the first sign of danger, this bozo split up, wandering off the path and left Macy all by herself. So he was already screwing up before Dolly Myers even caught his fade. Now, this turned out to be a great example of why you never want to be too friendly, especially with random people you see in the middle of the woods. I know everybody likes to say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes that's exactly what you have to do. So if I'm walking down the trail and come across some random lady who's covered in blood, built like a freaking WWE wrestler, you think I'm walking up to see if she needs any help? Hell no. Talking about some, are you alright, ma'am? Like, no, broski, and you won't be either if you don't dip the f*** out of here pronto. So if my guy was actually thinking about survival instead of acting like a damn Boy Scout, he could have just bailed before Dolly even knew he was there. And the second she turned around with a damn doll mask on her head, brother, just run. I mean, honestly, what are you even doing? The one thing I will give him credit for was how he didn't call for help. That's actually hella smart, because in this situation, you don't want Dolly to know the wifey is out there. But my guy came here to propose, and instead he got turned into an example. So sorry, Chase, but you kind of f***ed up here. After a while, Macy starts to wonder why Chase hasn't come back yet and decides to go looking for him. And sure enough, she comes across the same spot with all those freaky baby dolls hanging from the trees. She finds the music box just as it finally goes dead, but there's still no sign of her boyfriend. And that's when she notices the grave surrounded by even more of those dolls. Holy crap, it's a headless body. Horrified, Macy backs up only to bump right into the woman with the doll mask. She's holding a dirty shovel with her hands covered in blood, and Macy starts screaming for help. But Dolly just looks over to the side, and following her glance, Macy finally spots Chase slumped against a tree with his jaw hanging off. Macy starts booking it and yelling for help as Dolly grabs the shovel and starts waddling after her, making it back to their bags without the woman catching up. She starts digging through their stuff for anything useful, sticking a little Swiss Army knife in her pocket, only to find the ring that Chase was planning to give her. Now, while she's distracted, Dolly sneaks up from behind and touches the side of her face. And pulling away, Macy jumps to her feet and dips back into the woods. She doesn't really make it far before she trips over a branch and smashes her head on a rock, knocking herself out cold. And a few minutes later, she wakes up to find herself in the same spot with a nasty bruise on her head. But while she's still coming to her senses, Dolly shows up and starts grabbing her face like coochie coochie coo. Mary shoves her back, but then Dolly hauls off and smacks the soul out of her, only to pick her up and give Macy a little nose boop 2 seconds later. That's when Macy breaks out the pocket knife and shanks Dolly right in the side. But Dolly just tanks the hit and starts lifting Macy up by the neck, choking her until she passes out, before carrying her back to this creepy-ass house somewhere deep in the forest. Okay, I'm not just here to tell you how to beat all the sharks and masked killers. I'm also here to show you how to beat being bored and low-key broke. Yeah, that's right, you guys. We're talking about free cash again. Here's a little bit of a refresher for you. Free Cash is the awesome app that allows you to play games and test apps, all while getting paid to do it. Like, I know you meat shields are always on your phones, so why not make a little cheese while you're on it? Seriously though, they've got over 5,000 different apps and games to play and test, so there is something for everyone. If you've been watching the channel, you know how much we love gaming. This month, I've been fixated on Monopoly Go. It's a speed version of Monopoly and literally so much fun to play, and on top of that, I've made $150 so far playing it. And they're super legit. They have a 4.7 out of 5 Trustpilot score. It's a fun and easy way to make a little bit of extra cash on your day off from the comfort of your couch. I mean, you're already on your phone, so why not? Plus, when you're ready to cash out, they have a few options instructions on how to get paid, like PayPal, your bank, or an Amazon or Visa gift card, whatever you prefer. I mean, it sounds amazing, right? Sign up using my link or my QR code and you'll be getting a $10 bonus after completing your first offer. It's the most fun and easy way to earn a little bit of extra cash each day, and once you sign up, let me know in the comments what you are playing. Well, that's not good. It looks like Macy's on her way to Dolly's Diddy mansion, but honestly, she could have totally avoided this if she was using her brain. The first problem was that after turning around to see a giant doll woman gripping a damn bloody shovel, Macy decided to wait 3 to 5 business days before she actually started running. Now, obviously, this was time to run first and ask questions later, but there's an important catch. Randomly dipping through the woods as fast as you can is actually hella dangerous for this exact reason. Like, if you're not paying attention, you could easily end up getting lost or injured like what just happened here. So instead, here's what I would have done. Anytime you're being chased by a slasher villain, the first thing you gotta figure out is where they land in terms of speed, because that's gonna make a huge difference when it comes to your strategy. You wanna figure out if they're the slow type like Michael Myers or if they'll actually sprint after you like Ghostface. And the good news about Dolly is she pretty much moves at the speed of an actual baby, which means all I gotta do is keep up a light jog and I should be good. Then I could just run away while she's still waddling around, but when it comes to fighting her, I've got some plans for that too. Dolly here might not be the fastest, but she's super strong and extremely durable, which means that we're gonna have to outsmart her. So here's what I'm thinking. First, instead of wasting time going for the ring, I would have taken the backpack and put it near the cliff, and then quickly hid nearby and picked up a heavy branch, so with any luck, Dolly might get distracted by the bag, and that's when I'd charge out of the bushes, smack her with the branch, and knock her ass straight over the cliff, using the environment to take her out. Pretty smart, right? Now, after giving herself a concussion, it's gonna be pretty hard to fend off a giant baby lady. But I still see 2 good options here. The pocket knife obviously wasn't gonna do much damage unless she hit the right target, so instead of wasting it, I would have waited for a chance to get under her mask and go for a critical hit, which brings me to my next point. Anytime you see a killer wearing a mask like this, it's safe to say they've got some kind of deep psychological connection to it. So one of the best things you can do is just pull off the mask. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they'll stop fighting and start bugging out until they get the mask back on, which would give me another chance to either run for my life or go for a finisher. So once Dolly grabbed me, I would just pull off her mask and chuck it as far as I could and then dip while she was distracted. Easy.
When Macy wakes up, it doesn't take her long to realize that she is in big trouble. It looks like Dolly dressed her up like a baby and left her in a room with more of those creepy dolls. So she gets up and starts looking for a way out. The door is locked and it won't budge no matter how hard she tries, but that's when she hears somebody coughing inside the next room. A voice tells her to come closer, and as Macy listens in through the wall, he tells her that there's a key that can unlock his room. If she finds it, he says he can get her out of there, but for now, her only choice is to play along. And before he can explain any more, they hear Dolly stomping up the stairs. Macy hears her coming for the door and quickly takes cover behind the crib, but as it creaks open, there's no one on the other side. Just then, a baby stroller comes rolling in on some jigsaw type shit, and thinking that it's some kind of game, Macy pushes it back out. It rolls back in a few seconds later, this time with the doll facing down, and when Macy goes to fix it, its face is all broken and messed up. Shocked, she jumps back as Dolly comes dancing in like a little kid. But Macy gets so freaked out that she ends up peeing her pants. Grabbing her arm, Dolly drags Macy to the kitchen and puts her down on the table like a baby with a dirty diaper. And as Macy looks around, she notices that the windows are all boarded up, and there's a giant metal bar across the door. Dolly comes back carrying a fresh diaper and sticks a disgusting binky in Macy's mouth as she tries to argue. And knowing Dolly will flip if she tries to fight back, Macy's only choice is to sit there and thug it out. Night falls, with Macy still trapped in the house, but meanwhile back in the forest, we see this dude Chase still slumped against the tree. Somehow he's still alive and determined to save the wifey, only to snap his leg the second he puts pressure on it and ends up passing out from the pain.
Man, say what you want about Chase here, but that's a guy who's committed to his relationship. There's just one problem. Even though his spirit's not broken, his leg definitely is, and honestly, he should have known better than to try to walk on that thing in the first place. After a full force shovel stomp from Big Mama Dolly, that leg is gonna be completely shattered. I mean, he's lucky she didn't chop it off like something out of Resident Evil 8, so putting any weight on it is completely out of the question, and if anything, it's kinda dangerous. Or if he breaks it any worse, he could end up severing an artery, and if that happens, he's kinda done. But as always, I still have a plan. So the first thing he should do is craft a makeshift splint for his leg. Basically, all he's gotta do is grab 2 or 3 thick branches off the ground, use his shirt for padding, and use vines to tie it all together. It's still not gonna be enough to put pressure on it, but that should give his leg a little extra support. After that, I'd look around for a bunch of sturdy branches that I could use as a crutch, and bingo, now we're cruising. We should also have to make a choice here. I mean, he could save Macy by himself, but he's in really no shape to fight. I mean, realistically, if he goes anywhere near Dolly's house, both of them are gonna get clapped, so instead I'd have to cut my losses here and go for help first. He doesn't even know where Macy is, but he does know his way back to the car. And if he's able to reach a cop or a park ranger, they should send a whole SWAT team out here to rescue Macy and put Dolly on a t-shirt. Even though the wifey might not be too impressed, it's actually the safer choice for both of them in the long run. So if he really wants to save Macy, that's what I would do.
Dolly comes back to the kitchen doing her usual baby stuff and picking Macy up, sticks her in a high chair, and starts cleaning off her wound. Well, as she gets closer, Macy realizes that Dolly is wearing her ring. Macy starts arguing with her to give it back. Dolly threatens to backhand her, causing Macy to realize she should probably stop. But after giving her a band-aid, Dolly accidentally backs up into the microwave, bumping the knife that's still in her side. And when she pulls it out, blood starts spurting from the wound. Surprised, Dolly backs up, grabbing her side, only to fall over slumped on the kitchen floor. And seeing her chance, Macy decides that it is probably time to escape. Throwing herself over, she knocks down the chair and manages to get free, then goes straight for the door, but the bar is too heavy to move by herself, forcing her to look for another way out. She starts sprinting through the house, only for Dolly to jump up and grab her from behind. And after dragging her back to the kitchen, she throws Macy down on the table and starts whooping her ass with a cutting board. And once again, Macy just has to thug it out. Back in the woods, we see our boy Chase waking up again, and with half his jaw still hanging off, he starts crawling down, still determined to help Macy if he can.
All right, yeah. I think we can safely say this dude Chase is husband material. I mean, if Macy doesn't say yes after all this, then I don't know what my boy has got to do. But speaking of Macy, she should have already been long gone if she didn't completely fumble this whole opportunity. You see, Macy has no idea how lucky she was that Dolly decided to pull out the knife, because even though it didn't really do much at first, it clearly hit something pretty serious. And that's why Macy should have used this chance to take her out. Like with Dolly being so much bigger and stronger, the only chance Macy's gonna have is if she attacks while she's weak. And I mean, you're never gonna get a better opportunity than when she's slumped on the floor about to pass out from blood loss. So if I was Macy here, I'm not wasting any time. I'm going straight over to Dolly, pulling off her mask and smashing it on the ground. And then grabbing a frying pan, a rolling pin, pretty much anything I could find here in the kitchen, and finishing the job before she gets back up. Now, just because Macy missed her chance doesn't mean she won't get another one, and if she's been paying attention, there's 2 important details she should have noticed. 1, Dolly doesn't actually want to hurt her, and 2, she seems to think Macy's literally a baby. So just like that dude in the wall said, the best thing she can do for now is just play along. As long as Macy keeps acting like a baby, Dolly won't have any reason to get violent, and what that's gonna do is buy her some time. Like I said before, someone should be looking for them eventually, but also Dolly might be a psycho, but she still needs to sleep. So all Macy's gotta do is wait for Dolly to go to bed, and then open up the bedroom window, climb out onto the roof, and poof, she's gone. If I was Macy, that would be my next plan.
Back at the house, Dolly gets out this disgusting bowl of yellow slime and starts trying to make Macy eat some. But when Macy refuses to take a bite, Dolly hits her with the old "here comes the airplane" and forces it into her mouth. It's so nasty that Macy just spits it back up. But that was a huge mistake, cause instead, Dolly goes to the fridge and gets out a bottle full of chunky green milk. And with Dolly starting to get mad, Macy's only choice is to start drinking. She tries her best to keep it down, knowing it's only only gonna get worse if she can't, but it's just too foul, and she finally pukes it up all over the table. Well, this makes Dolly even more pissed off, and she starts crashing out, slamming stuff all over the kitchen. But that's when Dolly gets an idea and makes Macy start drinking straight from the source. Now, at first, Macy just has to go along with it, but then she sees an opportunity, and all of a sudden, she bites straight down and just rips that shit right off. Stunned, Dolly falls to the ground while Macy takes off and runs upstairs. She's passing by the other room when she hears that dude asking if she found the key yet, but when Macy says she hasn't, he says it might be in the basement, promising to come back for him. She keeps going until she ends up in another bedroom, the one that used to belong to Dolly's mom. But while Macy's looking around for anything useful, she hears that Dolly is coming in hot. That's when Dolly kicks in the door like she's serving a warrant and starts looking around the room searching for Macy. But while her back is turned, Macy jumps out from behind the door and stabs Dolly with a pair of scissors before taking off back down the hall. She runs back to the kitchen while Dolly is still recovering, while she notices the door leading down to the basement. And with that looking like her only way out, she heads down there to look for that key. As she reaches the bottom, she realizes that the entire basement is full of more dolls and lit candles made into some kind of shrine. And at the very back, she finds the mother's head stuck at the top of a doll's body with the key around her neck. But she needs that key, so she leans in and grabs it, then turns to head back upstairs, only she gets the weird feeling that something's off. And suddenly, Dolly pops out from behind the dolls and catches her by surprise.
Well, Macy might be surprised, but at this point, I'm not, because I'm sorry, but that escape attempt was absolute trash. I mean, girl, I'm trying to root for you here, but you gotta be dumb as a bag of rocks to go down to that creepy-ass basement when Dolly was literally right behind you. Genuinely, what the hell were you thinking here? I don't know why Macy keeps deciding to run away every time she's got Dolly on the ropes. But after the first time that didn't work out, don't you think you'd try a different strategy? I mean, she basically had Dolly down for the count back there in the kitchen. So like I said before, I'm taking advantage of that opportunity to take this freak down for good. The minute she hit the ground, I would have just run over, taken off the mask to distract her, and then started piecing her up with anything I could find. Because personally, I'm not about to let Dolly catch me lacking a second time. And again, up in the bedroom, after Macy sneak attacked her with the scissors, she could have easily just picked up Dolly's shovel, given her a couple taps on the old noggin, and she would have been good. Problem solved. And then she could go find this key and look for an exit without having to worry about Dolly chasing her down, right? But I can see at least two options here that could have been easier. The first one is pretty simple. Unlike the first floor, none of the windows on the second floor are boarded up. So if I really wanted to avoid a fight, then once I got to the bedroom, I'd start pushing all the furniture in front of the door to slow Dolly down. Then just open the window, quietly sneak out while Dolly is distracted, climb down the side of the house, and dip into the forest. And then I'd be out of there before she even knew I was gone. But here's where things get interesting. Let's say I'm down in the basement about to grab the key, but I know Dolly could be back at any minute. Well, if she went through all the trouble of turning her mother's head into a shrine, that must mean that it's pretty important to her. So instead of just taking the key, I'm taking the whole freaky little doll with the mom's head, because as long as I'm holding it, that should stop Dolly from attacking me. And then I could use it as a meat shield while I make Dolly open the door, toss it into the woods like a football once I get outside, and I'm gone. Smell you later.
After pulling her out of the basement, Dolly grabs Macy's ear and drags her back to the bedroom, but she's so strong she basically just rips it right off. With her ear just hanging on by a thread, Macy starts freaking out trying to hold it on, but Dolly just plops down in the chair and goes, "Come to mama," like she wants Macy to come sit on her lap. At first, Macy's like, "Hell nah, I'm not doing that," which makes Dolly start getting all pissed off again. But then Macy notices the key around her neck and realizes that she might still have a chance. So instead, Macy starts humming a little lullaby, calming the woman down, and then goes over and takes a seat on Dolly's lap, only for Dolly to break out a sewing needle and start stitching Macy's ear back on just like one of her dolls. Sometime the next morning, we see Chase still crawling through the forest when he finds Macy's flannel on the ground. So meanwhile, Macy's back at the house, still sitting on Dolly's lap. It seems like the woman might be asleep, but when Macy tries to get up, Dolly just grabs her and pulls her back in. So Macy waits another minute until the woman actually passes out. And once she's finally asleep, Macy gets up and climbs out of the chair. Dolly slumps over like she's half dead, and Macy's still not sure if she's really asleep or if it's just a trick, but she decides to go for it anyway. And lucky enough, she actually gets the key without Dolly waking up. Staying quiet, she backs into the hall without taking her eyes off Dolly, then starts heading for the stairs. But as she passes the other room, the guy starts begging her to get out. and thinking maybe he can help, Macy unlocks the door and steps inside. The room's pitch dark, but she finds a flashlight on the floor and, turning it on, spots this creepy-looking dude all chained up in the darkness. He says Dolly's had him chained there for months, but when Macy asks why, he just dodges the question and keeps begging her to set him free. She's worried Dolly's gonna wake up if this guy keeps yapping, plus he says he can open the door if she lets him out. So, deciding to trust him, Macy does what he wants and unlocks the chains. But as she's looking around at all the blood and other stuff covering the walls, she spots a freaking dead guy just posted in the corner. The man says that's his brother who came looking for him, but it looks like Dolly only had room for one. And while Macy's focused on the body, this dude sneaks up from behind and puts a piece of the glass up to her neck. It turns out this psycho was playing her all along. He's actually Dolly's father, and yeah, he's definitely not winning any Dad of the Year awards, but now he's gonna use Macy as a meat shield to make his escape.
So wait a minute, you're telling me the guy who looks like Rob Zombie mixed with Charles Manson turned out to be sketchy? Man, I never saw that coming. I can't believe Macy actually fell for that, especially when she didn't even need this dude in the first place. Now, once again, we got Macy missing a perfectly good opportunity to take Dolly out while she was asleep. Because key or no key, no escape plan is safe as long as Dolly is still in the picture. So while she was passed out, all Macy had to do was just grab the shovel and start clobbering, and she would basically be home free. But even with Dolly out of the way, she would still need a way to open the door, which brings us to Dolly's psycho father. He said he'd open the door if Macy let him out, which turned out to be a lie, but if he couldn't give me a single valid reason why Dolly chained him up, there's absolutely no way that I would trust this guy. Which means I'd have to figure it all out for myself. Well, now that we have the key, the only problem is that the metal bar is too heavy for Macy to lift on her own. But that's easily solved if we remember what we learned in science class. You see, Macy doesn't have to be strong enough to lift the whole bar, she just needs enough leverage to pop one side out and let it slide out of place. So what I would do is just grab a sturdy board, wedge it under one side of the bar, and use the back of a chair as a pivot point, and then as I dress down, the bar lifts up and boom, I'm out of there. But now it looks like Dolly might have to save her life.
Telling Macy to stay quiet, he takes her to the hall and drags her all the way downstairs. So far, there's no sign of Dolly, but as they reach the first floor, he starts calling out to her, trying to wake her up. He says he's gonna smoke Macy if she doesn't come down and open the door, but no matter how angry he gets, Dolly is still not showing up. Now getting frustrated, he backs all the way up into the kitchen and then takes the glass and slices Macy's cheek. And after hearing her scream, Dolly finally comes out to play. The woman steps around the corner holding a shovel, but the closer she gets, the man holds the glass up to Macy, telling her to put it down. And Dolly starts throwing this silent temper tantrum like an angry little child, only to finally cave and drop the shovel on the ground. Motioning for him to wait, Dolly reluctantly goes over and takes the bar off the door. But the second she does, Broski grabs the shovel and smacks her in the back. He starts beating Dolly down until it looks like she's almost toast, and while he's distracted, Macy tries to run for the door. But he hits her with a behind-the-back shovel smack just as she almost gets there, dropping her flat on the ground, and then goes back to finish off Dolly. But while he's busy yapping, Macy catches him slipping and puts a knife straight in his back. Now furious, the dude turns around to go after Macy, but just when he's about to strike, Dolly gets up, grabs the knife, and sticks her arm all the way through his entire body, leaving a giant hole in the middle of his chest, and then picks up the shovel and smashes his head like a watermelon. Terrified, Macy just sits there in shock, not really knowing what to do, but after a second, Dolly comes over and grabs her, dragging her back up to the bedroom. Slamming the door, the woman throws Macy in the rocking chair and starts smashing everything in the room, but then she just sits on the ground, rocks back and forth like an angry little kid, and thinking that this might be her chance, Macy gets up and goes for the door, only for Dolly to grab her from behind. But just when it looks like she's done for, she gets another idea. And instead of fighting back, she starts calling Dolly Mommy. The trick works, shocking Dolly into letting go, but right at that moment, they hear Chase yelling outside. It looks like Broski actually found them, and Dolly gets so mad she charges right through the bedroom door. So with her blocking the exit, Macy decides to send it and just dives straight out the damn window. Coming to her senses, Macy wakes up on the ground with Dolly just staring down at them from the second floor. But when she looks back again, Dolly is already gone, and realizing that they don't have much time, she rushes over to Chase and starts saying they need to get the hell up out of there. She tries holding him up, but my dude is too injured to even walk, and all of a sudden, here comes Dolly holding her favorite shovel. Panicking, Macy runs over to try and stop her, but she just knocks her to the ground. Just as Dolly's about to go for the kill, Chase gets up and starts distracting her. There's nothing Macy can do as Dolly turns to go after Chase, and grabbing his jaw, she finishes the job and rips it off completely. But this gives Macy a chance to run for her life, and she takes off into the woods with Dolly slowly chasing after her.
Okay, well, I guess Till Death Do Us Part came a little sooner than these two expected, huh? I gotta say, diving out of the window was actually a clutch move. But with his broken leg, there was no way Chase was gonna outrun Dolly, so if Macy really wanted to save him, I only see two possible options here. The easier one would have been to just tell Chase to hide, and then Macy could have gotten Dolly's attention and lured her away, because after all, Macy should still be able to outrun her pretty easily, and then she could just send the police to find Chase once she got to safety. The other thing she could have done was hide until Dolly noticed Chase, and then just pick up a heavy branch and club her while her back was turned. Realistically, Macy's probably getting washed in that fight, even with the element of surprise, meaning that in the end, the best thing she could do was just use Chase as a meat shield and start running right away. That way, at least she'd have a big head start. On the bright side, escaping now should be easy if she just remembers what she learned before. All she has to do is keep up a light jog, watch her step, and she should be in the clear. So at this point, I would just book it back to the whip, haul ass back to society, let the cops deal with Dolly, and never set foot in the woods ever again.
Macy keeps dipping through the forest, only to end up right back at the spot with all the dolls. But as she's spinning in circles, the real Dolly shows up and starts swinging at Macy with her shovel. Stumbling back, Macy picks up a stick and starts trying to defend herself, but Dolly just grabs it like she's fighting a little kid. Now desperate, she throws a few more useless punches, but one of them actually breaks Dolly's mask, causing her to run away and giving Macy another chance to escape. But just when it seems like she's actually making progress, she ends up face planting straight into the open grave. Waking up, Macy finds herself in the grave, lying right on top of a headless body, and disgusted, she jumps back and starts trying to figure out what the hell happened. But then she hears a twig snap somewhere nearby, and suddenly Dolly appears right behind her and starts swinging the shovel straight at her head. Thinking quickly, Macy grabs the body and starts using it as a meat shield, causing Dolly to drop the shovel and jump down into the grave. She won't attack as long as Macy's holding the body, so Macy shoves it straight at her, giving her a chance to climb out. But this time, she picks up the shovel and blasts Dolly straight across the dome. She hits her 2 more times as Dolly keeps trying to get up, but the third shot seems to do the trick, and thinking it's all over, Macy lets out a little battle cry and jumps down to get her ring back. Nervous, she inches closer and starts reaching for the ring, but then out of nowhere, bam! Dolly grabs her wrist and starts coming back to life. The woman looks up with this horrifyingly scarred face showing through the hole in her mask, but she's too weak to fight back. So after stomping her out a few more times, Macy gets away and keeps running down the trail. Meanwhile, over by the parking lot, we see this doofy park ranger leaving a ticket on an abandoned truck. He's got his headphones on blasting death metal when Macy suddenly runs up behind him, and catching her breath, Macy starts trying to explain what happened. She tells him there's a woman in a doll mask trying to chase her down, saying she could be there any second. So Broski tells her to hop in the whip and says it's all under control. He starts calling it in on the radio as Macy gets in the truck, but just then Dolly comes stomping out of the bushes and starts heading their way. This dude turns around and starts fumbling for his keys with absolutely zero urgency, but by the time he finally gets them off his belt, Dolly comes up and rocks him straight in the head, and then completely decapitates him with another swing. With the ranger out of the picture, Dolly comes up and starts hitting his emotes in front of the window, and then grabs the guy's head and holds it up for Macy to see. Defeated, Macy starts yelling back, "I hate you." But in the split second where she closes her eyes, Dolly suddenly disappears. Peeking out, she can see the ranger's keys lying next to his body, but just as she's about to go for it, Dolly comes back and starts bashing the windows with the shovel. She leans in and starts trying to grab her, but Macy kicks the door and knocks her down. And while Dolly's recovering, Macy grabs the keys and starts the truck. It looks like she's finally getting out of there, but when she looks ahead, there's Dolly standing right in front of her. I mean, she puts down the shovel and starts holding her hands up like she's begging Macy not to leave, but Macy's had enough of this doll-headed freak. And putting it in drive, she slams on the gas and turns Dolly into a big, ugly speed bump, finally taking her out once and for all. Now with Dolly officially donezo, there's still one last thing that Macy has to do. And going back over to the body, Macy takes the engagement ring off her busted ass finger and leaves her for dead, and then hops in the whip and takes off. The last we see of Macy, she's hauling it down the road in the ranger's truck, just kind of processing everything that's happened. She keeps checking the rear view mirror, half expecting to see Dolly flailing around like Leatherface, but this time there's nothing back there but the empty road, and Macy finally puts the ring on her finger, hysterically laughing to herself as she drives off into the sunset. And if there's one lesson we can all learn from what happened, it's definitely this. If you're ever on a hike and start finding dolls in the woods, just do yourself a favor and turn the around.
Dolly. Yeah, I'm not going to no woods, bro. It's just not happening. I'm not going to the woods. And I really pity the fools that end up in the situation like these people did. But you gotta let me know if you would have done anything differently in today's video. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm Ben. We'll see you in the next video, and have a damn good day. Thanks again to Free Cash for sponsoring today's video. If you're interested in making some money by playing some games, click the link in the description below or sign up using the QR code. And I'll keep you posted on what my next favorite game is. Let me know what yours is down in the comments below. See you guys.